Hello, everyone. We're here with Nichole Matos, who is our first interviewee for the Bronx COVID-19 project. We're going to talk a little bit today about how the rampant spread of the virus and the pandemic has affected her household and her neighborhood. She is a Bronx resident, born and raised. And yeah, Nicole, if you want to give a little brief introduction.
Hi guys, I'm Nichole Matos. I'm currently a junior at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I reside in the Bronx, in the Morrisania section of the Bronx. I live with my mom and sister, and we are currently quarantining.
Quarantining just like everybody else. So the first thing that I sort of wanted to get an idea of is how, in your opinion, the pandemic has sort of affected your own household. So we can start just talking a little bit about that. I know your mom is an essential worker, so she's still working. If you want to speak a little bit to that, and then we can move a little bit into how you think it's affecting your neighborhood as a whole.
My day-to-day life has changed very much. I'm no longer going onto campus to attend class. So distance learning for me and for my sister who's in the first grade is our everyday life. It has been a little difficult to adjust to distance learning for her, especially being that she's younger and the workload at home can be difficult to maintain and keep up with. Um, just running out of things to do, keep yourself entertained after, we do work and stuff like that. My mom is in and out of the home due to her still being working. And it's concerning because although, yes, that is a source of income and it is good for her to be working right now, it's a risk for our safety, her safety. And, it's like there's a benefit to still being able to work right now, but I do think that the risk is larger than the benefit.
Right, I agree. What grade is your sister in again?
She's in first grade. She attends a private school, a Catholic school in Yonkers. They've been trying to keep like the same eight subject kind of day-to-day vibe the same, but it's just difficult to try to get a first grader to understand that you're going to be doing the same things that you're doing in school. You're just going to do it at home, and we're not the teachers. We don't have that, I guess, that power to like get them to focus and learn the way that they would in school. um Keeping her like entertained is also hard. Can't really go out. I don't have a backyard, I don't have a porch, I don't have soup, so we're just confined to our apartment.
Right, I definitely know where you're coming from with that. In Harlem, it's pretty much the same deal with a lot of kids that are just at home the entire day and don't really have access to any outdoor areas. So I definitely know what you mean. Um, how do you think that it has impacted your school life?
um for school, I feel that it just forced us kind of to just be our own professors, be our own teachers, be our own advisors. Like, we no longer have the resources at hand that we were used to on campus. Um, and the professors, most are somewhat understanding. And then there's the few that just believe that it's the same and you can still get work done and your mindset is the same and you have the same responsibilities as prior to, when it does make sense for professors to feel that we now have more time than ever. But in reality, we have siblings to take care of, we have chores at home, we're trying to stay mentally sane. So it's tough. Um, but I do think that CUNY, they're trying. They've implemented the credit, no credit option. for towards the end of the semester. They give you 20 business days to decide if you want to credit or no credit option, or if you want to keep the letter grade that you earn. And I think that that's going to be helpful for a lot of students who haven't properly adjusted to this change. I know for one of my classes, I'm definitely considering that option only because I just feel like at this point in the semester, there's not really much you can do. A lot of professors don't really want to do extra credit. They don't really want to hear the excuses, which is understandable. But again, this is something that we've never been through. Like, this is historic, like crazy. And professors, they're new to this, we're new to this. So everybody's just trying to adjust. But I just wish that some professors were a little bit more understanding and compassionate because, again, we're students, but we're also humans. And responsibilities that students have are always like top one priority, but our health, safety, that comes first.
I agree. I agree. I also don't think that a lot of professors are able to sort of see past their own situations. I've heard from a lot of other CUNY students who have just expressed similar concerns, just with the university not really doing their part to help every student, and that to me was kind of disappointing. Being a native New Yorker, I've always been very proud of CUNY and the work and the resources that they have available for their students.
Right.
But it's just been unfortunate that a lot of my friends have sort of spoken to feeling the same way, just feeling that there could be a lot more alleviation and a lot more help in terms of tuition refunds. Um, so yeah, I mean, what do you think in terms of the future and going forward?
Hmm.
How do you think like they could improve on that?
Well, I know for myself, I'm personally considering taking some summer courses. Um, the biggest factor in determining whether I do or don't is financial aid. And being that we don't have the financial aid office open right now to go in and ask questions regarding how that would work, it would be difficult for me to try to go for that. So I would say, I mean, I'm definitely gonna go like back to school next semester, whether that's summer or fall. Um, I just would like, I would hope that the campus is open again in the fall because I do hear that we may get like another round of this virus in the winter, or like, CUNY officials are afraid that the virus is not contained enough to open again in the fall. But whether they do or don't, I really just want to see more resources available, whether that's online, on the phone, something, because I do feel that a lot of students are getting discouraged, and online is not for everyone. I have friends who, are currently struggling with that. Um, some are just getting back into the school rhythm, so it's hard to adjust when something like this is happening. But I think that with the credit no credit option, that's probably like the best, not incentive because it's not really like, I don't know, but I think that that's like a step in the right direction at least.
Certainly, certainly. And I mean, I think that there's a lesson for all of us to learn here, including faculty and just staff at CUNY, in terms of the resources and the help that we need to be extending to our students and to all students right now, because the reality is that they don't know every single student's situation. And while you're fortunate enough to have a parent who is still working, it's still a great risk for you every day. Just your parent is coming in and out of the household and just worrying about that. And on top of everything, you having to help your little sister now get through the first grade. It's just an additional burden that I don't think that all professors are considered, and this goes for
Right.
professors across everywhere, you know, like I'll speak to
Yeah.
faculty as well, and other of my friends who we're all basically in the same boat, you know. um and I think it's just important. Compassion, like our governor has been repeating to us time after time, is the most important thing right now. And just showing genuine compassion, part of that is being understanding and finding new ways, I guess, more creative ways to extend that help, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day you guys are still paying tuition, and you guys are still gonna continue learning, whether the campus reopens or not. This distance learning thing has to continue. So it's just a matter of what they do now, and how creative they can get with extending help and providing resources for their students.
Right.
But I'm glad you were able to speak a little bit to that. Um, can you talk to me a little bit about your job and what you previously were doing slash how that's being affected now?
I was working at 24-Hour Fitness, which is a gym in the Riverdale area of the Bronx. I was a service expert. I've been working there for about 2-ish years. Um, Once everything started happening with the whole virus situation, they immediately closed down, as you know, gyms were one of the first places or businesses to close. My manager informed me, and they didn't really have much information at first, but then they told us that they would pay us the next paid date, which they did. And then they just advised everyone to apply for unemployment, which I also did. And they haven't really said much as far as reopening. The state itself doesn't know when those types of businesses are going to open, and the company itself doesn't know. Um, but I'm genuinely concerned. When they do reopen, I'm not sure if I'm still going to have a job. I know one of my coworkers forwarded me an article about the company regarding just their own financial issues and possibly considering bankruptcy, which is a little concerning again for me and like other coworkers, because that makes us feel that, okay, if you guys are going through the struggle, like, are we going to have a job, you know? And they're not really vocalizing these issues, which is probably none of our business in their eyes, but it is because we're not granted a job, you know? But unemployment for me personally it's been a smooth process. I was able to apply online, and I was able to receive money, which is good. Um, so I can't really complain, but it's just a matter of like what's gonna happen when this is over, you know? Um,
Right, and just having to live with that sort of economic uncertainty,
right,
on top of worrying about our present worries and everything that's happening right now, you know. um
right,
but it's actually it's a relief to hear that you've had a smoother process with unemployment, because I myself have not, and I know others have basically just struggled even getting into the site and applying, because there are millions of Americans trying to apply every day. And I know you have to
yep.
do it every week and
Mm-hmm.
basically um,
File the claim and
file claim
mm-hmm.
weekly, a weekly thing.
Yeah,
So, I mean, this is something that I guess we have no other option really, but it'd be great if I guess our country was just more prepared for this, being that so many people are now applying, and it's just a hassle trying to get through
yeah,
to them every single week.
yeah,
But and yeah, and it definitely is your business what happens with the company, and I think that that's one thing that big companies need to sort of learn how to address better during these moments, because it's everybody's business what happens with the company. You know, you may just work at one 24-hour fitness, but that one place, you're very dependent on, you know? So it's
Hmm.
their job to let their employees know what's going to go down, you know, or how they see um, the situation unfolding as it goes.
Absolutely.
So, um, but yeah, I mean, is there anything else? You know, I don't want to just go based off of the questions. We can let that guide us more or less. But is there anything else that you would sort of like to say about what the transition has been like with this new life, school and work from home? Well, school from home.
Um, just from like a human perspective, like it sucks. You miss your friends, you miss your family, you miss just having the freedom to do what you would normally do or do whatever you want to do. It's more of now a routine, just waking up, same thing every day. You get tired of eating the same thing, watching the same things, like reading the same things for class and meeting for like these virtual meetings for classes. Like I feel like sometimes it could be redundant and repetitive and awkward and pointless and a waste of time. Like I could be using those 2 hours for that lecture that I just had to work on a paper or something. And I feel that professors, they're trying, but I just would like to be a little bit more realistic and know that certain things are just not working. Um, in the event that we do have to continue distance learning, I feel like they should work on just how they actually have the classes. Like, I don't think the virtual meeting every twice a week, 3 times a week is necessary. I think that that's just, I don't know, some students are just not comfortable with the virtual aspect of it. Um, and it could be intimidating. And I don't know. I'm like, I don't mind the distance learning, but there are certain things that just make it difficult and discouraging. Like there are days that I'm just like, I cannot wait for the semester to be over. But yeah, I miss having a normal life. I miss going out and just doing stuff. And like it's not even like, I don't even feel like it's safe to go for walks, which is the only thing that could probably keep you sane or give you like a little freedom. It's just hard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of the things you just listed are some of my major concerns as well, just in terms of how life will change for better or for worse, but more likely for worse. Even after this is all over, you know, like who knows how that will affect us socially,
Mentally.
on top of economically, which is just
Yeah.
unavoidable and
Yeah.
but yeah, if you want, we can speak a little bit more about that, just like what your worries are about the future and about the current state of things.
Well, I know like we've personally spoke about just the summer and how we're just so used to, going out and doing things, but living in a city like New York, it's very expensive. So my biggest concern would be if the quarantine situation is over by, let's say, June or whenever they decide, what are our options for financial, like, income? I know that the program that I usually do for internships, which is partially partnered with SYEP, is not happening this summer. So that affects me and a whole bunch of New York kids, like teenagers and college students, because we depend on, those employment programs and internship programs to keep us doing something educational or just overall positive. So that sucks because that means that if um the quarantine is over by the summer, there's going to be a whole bunch of kids in the streets with no benefit. Like there's going to be no benefit of having the freedom if we're not going to be able to have these programs that are keeping us busy in the summer.
Right.
So,
And especially because this is your junior year, so a lot of graduate school programs, if that's in the plans for the future, and or just a lot of jobs in general, like
right,
the junior year is very important in terms of just securing something and being able to put something on your resume,
resume.
um, and show that you've engaged in something that's related to your major or just anything like that. So
Yeah,
I know personally younger kids who rely on SYP every single year, and it's just been really upsetting. And it's really unfortunate that the program is canceled. I understand that the city is trying to take caution um,
right.
in a lot of ways, but the reality is that a lot of kids and a lot of young adults our age aren't safer at home and really aren't having a better time at home than they would have sort of engaging in something more productive and or just a job in general. So yeah, I definitely know what you mean there. Um, so just in terms, so we talked a little bit about how the pandemic is affecting your household.
Hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about how it's affecting your neighborhood? You live in the Marsania area, so to
Hmm.
be exact, on like 167, what's the neighborhood dynamics been like?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really socialize much within my neighborhood. I have a couple of neighbor friends in the building, and they've pretty much been on the same type of time that we have at this household. I know, like, just from seeing outside the window, which is what I spend my time doing. I see that the streets are empty. The homeless people are definitely out there, which is sad and concerning. Even though I read an article that said that there have been no reports of any homeless people getting the virus, which is amazing. Um, but it's been okay. There's been businesses that have closed. There's some that are open. Some closed early. Um, I know that there was a supermarket that down the block. The owner and his wife contracted the virus, and he actually passed away. And that's kind of concerning because, like I said, anytime you step foot outside, it's a risk. So even going to get your groceries, like now you have to be extra careful. But I think that's for everyone, anywhere in the city right now. It's just, if you go out, whatever you do, wherever you go with whoever, you have to just be extra careful because
Right. And these masks, they really just can't save us from everything.
not the gloves, not the mask, not the hand sanitizer, even washing your hands, like anything can really be the reason why you get the virus. So it's just scary.
Yeah, definitely. So just economic uncertainty, heightened vigilance and sort of anxiety, living within these bubbles.
Yeah.
Um, and I think a lot of Bronx residents can agree, and a lot of us are sort of going through the same thing. We live in these tiny. I know you just like myself. You live in a tenement apartment, 5 stories, no elevator. So it's a struggle. Just going to the supermarket and getting back upstairs with all those groceries is in itself a struggle.
Yeah.
So on top of
Yeah.
just having to worry about now where we're going to go to the supermarket, because our local supermarkets are either too dangerous or too packed. And I'm sure your
Right.
mom is super just extra concerned about going to that supermarket now that the owner tested positive with the virus and died. You don't really know exactly who he had contact with or what he touched or how disinfected the supermarket was after that. Um, and it's really just a matter, I think that speaks to just the larger systemic issues um, that affect the Bronx. Not enough cleaning, not enough emphasis on sanitation, and especially I know that these issues are especially prevalent in the South Bronx. So it's important for other people to know how this is affecting life for residents over there, because
Yeah.
at least I personally I live in the North Bronx, so around this area it's sort of I wouldn't say it's easier to live in a neighborhood like this, but there's a lot more room in terms of if you want to go for a walk. We have a few local parks in the area, and it's feels a little bit more or a little bit less urban in a sense. Um, but regardless, you can't escape the fact that you're confined in a tiny apartment, in a crowded apartment, oftentimes with a whole bunch of people. I mean, here, like in my mom's house, fortunately, there's just three of us. But in my other family's home in East Harlem, there's at all times at least like 6 to 7 people in the apartment. So one thing that has really been a struggle for me has just been virtual classes online with like with like 3 or 4 screaming kids in the background and three
Hmm.
or four other adults speaking to you in the background. It's been a real challenge, I think, to say the least. But
Yeah.
yeah, these are all things that we can only hope that in the future our institutions, our jobs, and our schools are just more considerate and more compassionate, like you're saying.
Right. Right.
Um, so what do you think is the most important thing that others should know about what is happening right now, or the
Um,
things that you feel are most important for others to know?
I think first just taking not taking life for granted and health for granted, because there are people who've passed who've totally healthy. There's people who've had, life-threatening diseases like diabetes or stuff like that, and they've passed. So I just think in moments like this, you have to really make sure to always take care of yourself and take these things seriously. Um, like some people think you get it, you're good, that's it, it's done, or it's calmed down by now. But the reality of it is that, like we said, you can get it anywhere, anyhow. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the health conditions. It's just something that we can't avoid, but we have to try our best to be not only considerate of ourselves and our family, but others. Like if you have it, you should not be out. Like it's not a it's not even it shouldn't be a question. There's nothing that's more important than your health and safety. Socializing is important, it's needed, it's wanted very much, but
We can do it.
safety comes first. Yeah, there's you just have to adjust and know that we're going to eventually be free. We're going to eventually have the freedom that we want, but for right now we just have to focus on keeping those numbers down, as Cuomo says.
Absolutely. This initiative was really started because we feel that it's important that others are able to attach voices and faces to the numbers. I mean, we've heard time after time, we're still hearing and still getting more information almost on a daily basis now on how disproportionately the Bronx is being affected.
Right.
So I just want to thank you on behalf of the Bronx African American History Project and on behalf of all these other history initiatives, because you are a big part of this, and it's important that your voice and your story is out there because you may be one of millions of residents in the Bronx, but your story definitely resonates with a lot of us and a lot of other people.
Right.
Um, so yeah, just in terms of that and keeping that goal in mind, we would like for others to eventually be able to return to the website and look at your interview and look at how um, the pandemic has affected your loved ones and your household and your own routine.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, is there anything that you would want others to know when they click on your interview about how this pandemic is affecting the Bronx and life in the Bronx?
um well, I just think people need to understand that the statistics of those in the Bronx who have these life-threatening diseases or just any health conditions that can worsen this virus, like the Bronx is up there in terms of just being predisposed to like death, essentially, because we have the highest rates in asthma, diabetes, and those are just it's just that just adds fuel to the fire when you get the virus. So if you know that you have these things, or you know your body is not going to be able to handle the virus well, just avoid interaction with anyone, honestly. Like it's like, it sounds crazy, like, oh, that's so like discriminatory, I guess, towards like Bronx people, like Bronx residents, but it's the reality. And we're not the healthiest borough, and we see that during times like this. Even though other boroughs are
Do you have,
overpopulated.
is there like a message that you would want to send to sort of government officials about all this?
um I think we should just like equally care for every borough, every state, as far as testing, resources, equipment. Like, it's important, it's imperative. Like, and I just wish that the media too, like, they would have accurate information. They would be a little bit more compassionate, in the sense of, stop scaring these people. Like, the way that they come across sometimes can be very just concerning and scary. As someone, as a viewer, like, sometimes I think they do exaggerate things, or just use false information that is then repeated from one person to the other, and that's how you spread false info. Like, I've heard so many false things, and I just think that's not helping,
Yeah,
you know.
or to worsen the situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if this ever garners that much attention, it's important. Hey, someone's gonna see it, whether or not
Right.
now or whether it's 10 or 20 years from now. Others will have the opportunity to know how this is affecting people on a small scale, because sometimes just seeing the numbers and hearing the facts and the information isn't really enough, um, to change people's hearts about the larger systemic issues I think that are at hand, and that your answers have sort of um, alluded to.
Yeah.
So attaching your face and your story to it will definitely make a difference. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us and for helping us make a difference.
No, thank you guys for taking the time to listen to the people who don't really get to express themselves and use their voices to speak for others who have passed or who can't speak, or just all of us. It's hard, but I hope that we really take this just as a lesson, and for the future, when the other another virus comes, because that is what will happen. We just know what to do and what not to do based on how this whole situation played out.
That's all we can hope for.
That's all we can do.
It seems like we're doing a whole lot of hoping and just reflecting during these moments, because that's all there is left for us to do.
Yeah,
This initiative is really aimed at that, at just not only providing a resource for others to be able to look more deeply into these stories and into the statistics, but also to provide some hope for ourselves, for other Bronx residents, that you know your story will be told. And if you know anybody else, whether they're an essential worker or whether they've been just affected by unemployment, please do feel free to direct their information to me. And
of
thank you
course.
again for being here with us today virtually. And
Thank you.
hopefully we'll be able to reunite
In
personally
person.
someday.
Yes.
Thanks so much again, Nichole.